Hey, back for week 3. I brought my horrible lighting setup again. You can see the shadows. So I'm a couple days late, but there's a snowstorm hitting New England or Massachusetts this week, and I think they predicted like 70 feet of snow or something like that. I'd show you the snow, but it's a nightmare for my editor. And you all know what snow looks like anyway. First thing, in response to guys like Rich of the Jungle who questioned my editing for the videos, this is free. I'll do what I want. I'll sit here and play with a four-sided Rubik's Cube for 30 seconds if that's what I want to do. So on to the episode. This episode was featuring the fight between Cella and Uriah Hall. Basically, Adam, a guy who had to paint his abs on his picture, versus Uriah Hall, who, like Adam said, looks like an action figure. But I'll get to more on the Uriah fight, because kind of keep it in line with what you see on the episode. The next thing you see is King and Bubba kind of settling their beef in the kitchen, and that was actually kind of nice. They came in and they talked. And in past seasons of Ultimate Fighter, you see guys come in, and that would cause some huge scene where guys are yelling and screaming. And in this situation, they both kind of said, "You know what? You called me out. Eventually, that fight's going to happen. It's not the best move right now." So, they shook hands and they were just professionals about it. And I was like, wow, that was pretty refreshing to not see two complete like idiots on the Ultimate Fighter smashing each other over words. They just shook hands. And then there's the whole scene in the van of me kind of calling everyone out for being scared or whatever. That was just kind of a little bit of my frustration, because I'm only 3-0 in the fight game myself, and a lot of it is because people locally, they have a problem fighting a guy who's got good credentials and is only, 0-0, 1-0, 2-0, 3-0. My whole career I'm dealing with people picking and choosing their fights. So it was refreshing to me to get on the Ultimate Fighter, where people don't pick and choose fights. You basically just have fights, no one can pull out, nothing can happen. Now I'm in a situation where all these guys are picking and choosing the best fights for them. And some guys had different game plans. The more experienced fighters wanted to go out there and just slowly progress through the tournament. But I was just excited to get fights. I'm like, I just want to get out and fight some guys, because I can't do it on the local scene. And I feel like most people took that the right way. It wasn't really me calling anyone out or, saying I wanted to fight Bubba. It was more or less, if all you guys are veering away from wanting to fight him, I'll do it. He's just another guy like anyone else. And, they're all thinking, oh, I want to fight him in the next round or fight him down the road. And in my opinion, I'm like, if I'm not going to beat him, I don't want to lose to him after I grind through this tournament for 6 weeks. If I'm not good enough to win, I'd rather lose now than make it to the next round. There's no pride in finishing in second place or third place, whatever. Like, there's no pride in getting to the next round. The goal is to win the tournament. With that whole scene behind us, it basically came down to, we felt like Bubba just wanted that fight because King had the cut over his eye, and he wants to take advantage of it early, hopefully get a stoppage by the cut, because, King does have some good credentials. His ground game's phenomenal. He's a black belt under the Gracie family. We felt there was a little bit of a low blow to go after him for Bubba. So that brings us to Uriah and his fight. I got to know Uriah pretty well there in that first week, and Chael, he said, really had a huge impact on him. He's like, Chael's helping with my mindset, and I was a little surprised because Uriah comes off as a pretty confident, strong guy, and he started to tell me about like how he had been bullied and how he's really got issues mentally going into fights. And having a coach like Chael with him, he said it was just so good for him to keep his mind clear and just kind of help him mentally. It's pretty surprising, though, because you see a guy like Uriah and you're like, you got bullied when you're 13. Who didn't get bullied when they were 13? And most people don't turn out to be freak show athletes that are spinning back heel kicking people in the face. Like, you'd feel like he'd be over it by now. But, he still gets upset over little things like being made fun of by the fire. I ended up talking to Uriah after that downstairs in the pantry. You see the scene, and he's talking about how upset he was. And I was confused. I was sitting right there when that happened, and I didn't know what he was so mad about. Like, it was such a small, insignificant thing that it like blew right over my head. And he came down, he's like, oh, I can't believe Josh was being a jerk like that upstairs. And to me, I was like, I didn't realize anything happened. it just shows how fragile Uriah's mindset was when it comes to this fight game. So now this brings us to the fight, which is what everyone's talking about, or everyone wants to hear about. When we went to the fight, I thought Uriah was a huge favorite in the fight. He, just was faster, quicker. Even when the fight started, you could see Adam was really pushing the pace and, taking it to Uriah. And I'm thinking, like, Adam is a gamer. He's here to fight. But you could just see the level was completely different technically and athletically between Adam and Uriah. He was able to move and kind of avoid Adam for the most part. And then you're waiting, the round's over. And I thought clearly Uriah had won the round. But the clappers went off and, people relaxed a little bit at that 10-second mark. Nothing's going to happen. The round's about to end. And then that kick, and we're all like, whoa. Like, at first we jumped up to celebrate. We jump up, we're like, yeah, Uriah. And then we, noticed how bad Adam was down. And we're like, oh, wow. Like, there's nothing to really celebrate here. And, you get a sense for it on the episode, but it really doesn't do justice to how good of a guy Adam is. He was one of the guys in the house that, right from the beginning, he was friendly with both teams, hanging out, having a good time. Everyone liked him in the house. So to see him go down like that, we're all like, we wanted Uriah to win, but we didn't want Adam to get hurt by any means. What the episode doesn't show is, Adam was down for a long time. He was probably, I think Dana ended up tweeting out, he was down for 4 minutes on the ground and then an extra 2 minutes on the stool before he could even stand up. And it was 3 minutes getting him from the stool out to the ambulance. But, that was part of the knockout. It wasn't so much that spinning kick was the best thing anyone's ever seen, because we've seen some spinning kicks, we've seen some crazy knockouts. But when Adam went down, he was lifeless. And it was really going through my mind thinking, like, what do you have to do to wake Adam up at this point? He's out, lifeless. He wasn't breathing like that at first. That heavy breathing you saw, that wasn't initially happening. So he just looked lifeless on the ground. And it wasn't until, a little bit later that, the life started coming back to him. And we're like, oh, at least he's okay. But it actually crossed my mind when we were watching that. It's like, did he actually just get killed? Like, am I witnessing the first death in the UFC? It was that powerful to see in person. So even though on TV it looked awesome, it didn't do justice to what that felt like to watch that in an empty gym front row. It honestly was pretty scary to see. So that brings us to next week's episode. Kevin Casey, you see, takes the fight with Collin Hart. And, we were all excited to see Kevin fight. Kevin's probably the most well-known of any of the fighters because of some of his social media stuff and things he's put out there on the internet. So he's a guy we were all looking forward to see fight. So tune in next week to see that fight go down. You'll get to know Kevin Casey a little bit more, which will be interesting. And also Collin Hart, you get to know why Collin Hart threw the finger at Kevin during that stare down. I want to thank my sponsors, Cybation, smartpotters.com, Kinetics, also Coliseum to the Cage, March 30th in Derry, New Hampshire. If you have any questions, you can post on Reddit, my Twitter, Jimmy Crash BJJ. And I also like to give a shout out to Caitlin and Pat, who are having a baby this week. Before my next video blog will be out, they should have a baby girl. Thanks for watching, and look for my video blog after next Tuesday at some point. See ya.